Hi there, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce Equillibrium Environmental Inc. and thank you to PTAC and CRIN for this virtual innovation showcase opportunity. Equillibrium was started in 1999, a multidisciplinary team of individuals with all sorts of different focuses. We're Alberta based. One of the things we like to get into is toxicology and risk assessment. We have some people here who are diplomats with the American Board of Toxicology. We've done work to support basically guideline development for soil. So one has been we've successfully worked with the provincial government and with good labs that have generated data for Tier 1 boron soil quality guideline, and we've got work underway on a selenium guideline as well. And again, it's just trying to use sound science to develop modern, effective, and useful guidelines. We're also doing this in the aquatics world, so we're looking at the interplay between chloride and hardness and how that affects a chloride aquatic life guideline limit. And that's been some great work that's been sponsored by PTAC, that's been generated out of some toxicology labs in Canada and the United States. You can also take these techniques to the site-specific level. You have that Tier 2 option, so if you have a hydrocarbon impacted site over Tier 1 guidelines, everything's growing well. Perhaps there isn't a lot of toxicity going on, so you can use these techniques on a site-specific basis and develop guidelines that way. In terms of human toxicology work, we've done a lot of support with federal and provincial regulatory agencies, same with the ecotox work. The work we've done on, for example, benzoate pyrene has been with Health Canada and in support of the U.S. National Academy of Sciences and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and looking at things like incorporating actual media of exposure data. So for example, if you're exposed to soil, look at how much of that compound in that soil actually gets into your body where it can elicit an adverse effect. Sometimes we'll need to combine this tox data with robust physiologically based pharmacokinetic models where you simulate the body mathematically with all sorts of different exposure pathways, looking at things like venous blood concentrations to give you a more accurate and complicated estimate of risk. In terms of our well site and land reclamation side of the company, we consider soil a resource, so we're always looking for methods to reduce the amount of soil that goes to landfill and also maximize the reuse of soil wherever possible. You need good soil quality guidelines in order to achieve that, and we like to have mobile labs where we can on site doing helping with waste segregation, analyzing as a class 1, class 2, or none of the above. And then integrating that with things like oxidative techniques where you can reduce class 1 to class 2 to reusable backfill, and again focus on maximizing our reuse of soil as it is a resource. Water treatment can also be an important component of remediation, so we're looking at implementing these techniques where you have, say, a coarser soil and more soluble constituents, and looking at things like, well, we've done them, desalinization, reverse osmosis, and nanofiltration, and then processing that water, putting the good water back into the environment, and just disposing of a more concentrated waste stream. We like to enhance natural ecosystems wherever possible, because sometimes you just need to get things over a hump, because there's this thing called acute shock and acute toxicity, but you can foster the regrowth and colonization of a particular ecosystem with some amendments and some careful approaches, and enhance that natural ecosystem. And in some cases you can even take your plant species, for example, that you want to put back in there, incubate them in the contaminated water, they'll acclimatize, put them back into the environment, and see if they will naturally recolonize the ecosystem such that ducks may want to come back someday. We've done projects with wind, using wind as our soil vapor extraction pump. This is a site where there was a deep vado zone, and basically we were able to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions footprint by 3,500 to 8,400 kilograms of CO2 equivalent. So when the wind blew, the windmills were the pumps. Abandoned well site closure, that's something we've been looking at in terms of developing site-specific gas emission guidelines to enhance resource dedication towards the minimization of the entire provincial footprint for greenhouse gas emissions. And we develop software tools. It's kind of part and parcel in a way. Some of these tools, for example, this one was accepted by Alberta Environment, and it was based on a very rigorous science-based process that incorporated stakeholders and brought everybody together to the table to hammer out something that was really effective and useful. We have GIS tools that we use as well, because those are often very important for ranking sites. And finally, community outreach. If you take your knowledge and you share it with your community and you give it to them, chances are you're going to get all that back, and it's about building a stronger Alberta. So that's my Fast 5, and thank you and have a good day.